Since its launch in 2005, Broad Street Review has sought to promote the exchange of viewpoints rather than any particular point of view. To that end, we welcome commentary from professionals and amateurs alike about the performing and visual arts, as well as any other field of interest to our eclectic group of contributors. The following interview was submitted to Broad Street Review, powered by Rep Radio. Mariangela Saavedra.
Yep.
And you are the artistic and managing director of Casabuena Cultural Productions.
Correct.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about CCP.
Great. We've been around about 4 years. I mean, we actually started in 2009, but it was at the very birth of the Piazza at Schmidt's. And I was kind of doing pop-up performance art in the Piazza before the real entertainment piece of the Piazza came to being. And then, of course, I got absorbed in the Kimmel Center and sort of put Casabuena on the back burner. And then 4 years ago, I was just like, you know what, this is my passion, and I have this company that I was really pleased to start here in Philadelphia, and I want to see what it can do. And so we've been growing every year since 2012, adding more shows. This season is our busiest. We actually have 3 shows on the season. We've never done that before. We're usually like 1 to 2 maybe, but never 3. And a run at the Fringe was my dream. It was my dream to do something. So our general mission is that we work with youth performers. We put youth performers and professional theatrical performers together to work side by side to make theater and short films. And really what I'm doing is offering these youth performers opportunities to work with professionals and not have to pay. So they're not paying to be a part of the program. They're selling the tickets. They're helping get the press out. They're doing that piece of thing. And then I'm paying my professional actors to basically mentor them and teach them by doing. And it just seemed logical that we would do something in the Fringe, more for my older kids. Obviously, the subject matter of this isn't for the younger kids. I think the youngest I have in my company is 11, and she started with us when she was 9. But most of them are now teenagers, and I was like, oh, Fringe, this is perfect. You guys can all work crew. You can see exactly how a real professional show, makes a run at something like a Fringe festival, and how much weight that has and how good it is to, do something like that. And so I was like, this is the year. These kids are getting ready to graduate. I need to pull out the stops and do it this year. So that's who we are. That's what we do.
Yeah, well, that's great. I was peeking around your website, and the company is diverse in all ages and culture, which is really great. Because I think I always feel like the arts community just hops on a bandwagon as soon as there's a cry for help. When it comes to there's not enough diversity. Oh wait, we have it somewhere. It's in this file. I think I have some somewhere. And then all of the culturally based arts organizations are like, hello, 10-year anniversary. Right. Like, we've been here the whole time. So how is it that you're not paying attention to us, but you're looking at the staunchly non-diverse organizations and calling them to action when these institutions have been here and potentially either flying under the radar, successfully doing what they do, or struggling to get the kind of attention that these companies that are not as diverse are doing?
It's true. And for a minute, I thought that, I didn't form the company to work with kids. It actually came up very organically. I have a son, and at the time he was like 10 and saw my first show at the Piazza and was like, this is incredible. I love theater. And he got really into it. And he wasn't quite old enough to really sort of do theater yet. And so I kind of waited. And when I took the hiatus and when I came back in 2012, he was the perfect age. Him and all of his friends were like, 12 and 13 years old. And I was like, you want to do stage crew? And he's like, great. And then suddenly his best friend was like, well, can I work on this show? And I'm like, sure. And then he's like, I have a sister. Can she get involved? And I'm like, absolutely. And then it just kind of blew up from there. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, this should actually be something that, we can all benefit from, because I think my professional actors really love working with the kids as well, because it's not in a situation of teaching. I'm not paying anybody to come in and, and be this like drama teacher. It's like, come and do this show with me, learn from me, let's do this together. And by having them involved, I can afford to pay pretty decently, because the bottom line is kids sell tickets.
Yeah.
They do. They've got families, cousins, aunts, uncles, everybody who wants to come and see what they're doing. So it's nice. And then the film component just seemed natural. There's a great independent film community in Philadelphia. And I was like, if I don't try to get involved in that somehow, I'll be sad. So
yeah, I've definitely been exploring. I've been exploring the possibilities of film. I purchased represented.tv and no one, and then I let it go for 1 year and nobody grabbed it. So I grabbed it back again. I was like, maybe this is a sign. Maybe I should do something with this, with this feed here, because now the technology has made it so much easier to do. I mean, like we've seen a successful independent film created with an iPhone, and if you didn't know that it was filmed with an iPhone, you wouldn't be the wiser. You would just say, "Oh, that's an independent film," but I like the story.
Right. We did a 48-hour film project on an iPhone. Like we competed this year, and we did the whole thing.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
So this brings us to your Philly Fringe Fest debut. And so tell us about The Church Bells All Were Broken.
It's such a wonderful story. So local playwright Dave Ebersole, I'd crossed paths with him several times working with other organizations. And he did a staged reading of this brand new play that he wrote 3 years ago. And they needed chorus for it. And so I, of course, was like, I can sing and this sounds like fun. Let's do it. And I fell in love with this piece and was like, I have to bring this to a stage at some point. Like I didn't know when, but I was just like in the back of my mind, I'm like, this has to be done. And then when I was talking to people about, I want to go to the Fringe, I want to do something at the Fringe, I'm really needing something that speaks volumes, Dave said, well, there's always church bells. And I was like, oh my gosh, it never occurred to me that he would give that to me, that he would say, sure, take this. Cause it's, it's hard to gauge, and playwrights are, reasonably and expected to be sort of, possessive of their work. And so I was just like, oh, like you would let us, you think my company is good enough? You want us to do your play? Like, yes, we would love to do that. And so we asked for some rewrites to kind of incorporate the chorus more like a Greek chorus, so that they actually play characters. Because originally it was basically a play between two people, and the chorus came in and sang some songs like that for humor that kind of buffer the storytelling. And we were like, we'd really like to engage that chorus, see more of the characters they're talking about. And Dave was like, I can do that. Absolutely. And so he did this rewrite for us that is just like goosebump amazing. Like when I read it the first time, I was like, I can't even. And it made me a little sad that I had decided to bow out of performing in this and produce instead, because I was like, the actress in me was just like, why aren't you doing this show? Like you should be on that stage. And then I'm like, no, like a bigger picture. So yeah, it was, it's been a really, wonderful experience. And I just strongly felt like this was the right time for this message, as well as, the right way to, if you want to make a splash at, something, as great as the Fringe, you got to do it with something that you feel really passionate about and a statement that you really want to make. And this did it. This play just did that for us. Yeah.
Well, the Westboro Baptist Church for believing in for following a religion that supposedly, suggests that you not judge, does a lot of judging,
right?
Which is always kind of interesting. But, every time they attack something, the world just attacks back. Like just, whether they're painting a house and they donate, they raise all this money and they buy the house next door to them and paint that one up, or they create some different, they do demonstrations in front of their sort of compound or what have you, just to point out, hey, you know what? You can keep slinging that hate all over the place, but we're just going to drown it out with all this love here.
Right. And the playwright, when I interviewed him about it, it was so interesting what he said is, Dave said that he didn't start out to write a play about the Westboro Baptist Church. That wasn't his goal. He set out to write a play about the severing of a relationship between two people because of faith, because of a strong religious belief. And that, of course, naturally gravitated toward an organization like the Westboro Baptist Church. Like it kind of was like, oh, well, that would be the perfect setting, because how else really kind of can you, like in a real in your face sort of way. And then he started doing his research about them and came across this entire channel that they have of song parodies. It's on YouTube. They basically rewritten all the words to popular songs so that they can sing them at their rallies, so that people can use them. And it said straight up that they weren't copywritten and that they wanted everyone to have them. And so then it was like, okay, we can now like take this, put it into this story, and really shine this light back out to just like the level of true ridiculousness that this level of hate is, like how this is just absolutely not something that should be happening, and that anyone who is this sort of off their rocker, so to speak, is not really a person of God. It's that whole conundrum there. And I think he tells a story really well, because he shows how this particular family that's based off of them, it's not them, it's based off of them, but affects so many different people in different areas of life, and how that effect sort of reverberates. And then these people who are in the family who are like, I don't think I'm believing in this anymore, and I don't think this is who I am, how they kind of have to deal with the repercussions of these actions that they took previously when they were kind of, brainwashed, if you want to call it, or whatever, in that situation. And it's really fascinating to me to watch and to see. And Dave is such a incredible writer by being able to incorporate humor. Like we performed at Bob and Barbara's, a sneak preview last night at Bob and Barbara's, and it was amazing to hear these people laugh and just smile and enjoy it. And we're like, no, we're coming out singing some pretty hateful songs with these pretty hateful signs, but they got the message. They got like, what we're doing is shining this light on it in this way that can be sometimes humorous. Like there's plenty of drama. It's not a comedy. I wouldn't call this show a comedy at all. But it's the perfect balance of it. It's just like, I can't rave enough about it. I'm so pleased with it. Like, it's just great.
Well, what's so funny about, what's so interesting about how they received it is if they're processing it, saying like, I can't believe how ridiculous this is. So I wonder, like, how, we're led to believe, because we're storytellers, that every villain has justification. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to understand theirs. Like, I feel like if I'm in my apartment building and I know that if I don't know, if I do something a certain way, it's more of a benefit to everyone than it is an inconvenience or a hindrance. I would err on the side of what's better for everyone. Or if I'm doing something differently than someone else, I'm not going to go get in their face about, oh, you should be doing it this way. It's just this act of like judging doesn't really make any sense. It's like you would think that organizations like this would want to say, well, if they believe that people who act this way are not right in the eyes of God and they're going to go to hell, why wouldn't they just let them go?
Right. Yeah.
Why wouldn't they just let them go by themselves and say, well, let's just stay over here and pray and be happy that we're better, or that we think that we're in a better situation, and feel good about that. And maybe the people that they are trying to, I don't even know if they're trying to like convert or not. It just seems like there's no real justification for the amount of effort they're putting into shedding light on difference of opinion.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great point. I mean, that's absolutely it. And there's some nice exposition in this story about the sins of these people. Like, you come to get to know them as characters and find out a little bit of their backstory, and you find out that they're not without sin. And so then you're kind of like, is it about making up for that sin? Like, is it about like they do this because they feel like, oh, I have to because, I sin? And it's so fanatical that it's fascinating. It's almost like that, accident you can't look away from, where you're like, what is going to happen next? And then right when it starts to get a little heavy, or starts to feel like it's weighing on you too much, then we throw in this amazing parody of Michael Jackson's Bad that's called God's Mad, and you're like, well, okay, woo, all right. And then you come back and you get into the rest of the story. It's nice. It's good.
And that's the storyteller in us saying, like, well, in order for this character to be so staunchly opposed to something, they must be hiding something, or they must be trying to make up for some sort of fault, because we know that. We know that as storytellers, like, what is behind this? And I wish I guess there's a part that wants to try to understand that, but sometimes people just get taken over by seeing all these signs of hate, especially when these signs of hate tend to surface in a situation that is sort of a culmination of love. Like they're always at a function where it's all about love. It's all about accepting people for who they are, and they're the only ones saying, like, you should be judged.
Yeah,
it makes no sense at all. And it's like, how do they just get in their car and go home and say, "Job well done. We did a really great job spreading our hate all over the world today."
Yeah. That's. A lot of the actors are wrangling with that too, because their friends have been asking them, like, what's that like to play that kind of character? Like, what's that like? Like, where do you have to go in your head to get okay with it? And they're all just of the same mind of, well, we have to just resign to knowing that this is ridiculous, and that this, isn't, something that we should take too seriously, because these people really aren't in their right minds. Like, it just isn't, and I'm like, yeah, I can't imagine what that's like.
Is that basically how the cast received this production on the first read? What was that like for everyone?
I think so. Some had seen it in its reading when we did the reading, so they were familiar with it. Others were completely blindsided, and there was, in a good way, where it was just like, oh wow, I had no idea. When we asked them to audition, it was, audition with 16 bars of a popular song, and we're going to have you read this tiny little piece from it, which, was really kind of just the opening statement of the play. And so they sort of had an idea of what it was, but they didn't really see the big picture until they read it. And yeah, it was interesting how some people kind of got, maybe, I don't want to call it uncomfortable, but you could tell they were sort of surprised and like, wow, this is going to be a challenge. And there were others that were just like, I am so excited to, like, throw this story out there, and to be this person who I know is genuinely ridiculous and isn't any facet of who I would ever be, but I am excited to portray this person, because I think the message is important, like what we're trying to say.
It's like challenge accepted.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and so this is a Fringe debut, but why put this in the Fringe? Why not around the time of, like, here, we're here in Philadelphia, so why not the time of, like, Philly Pride or Equality Forum? Or why is this the right time to present this piece?
Because, I mean, I've always sort of felt like Fringe is that chance where people who wouldn't necessarily come out to see theater make a point to come out and see theater. And there's a lot of offerings, and they can kind of look through and pick and choose. And I am a big follower of another theater company, the Tribe of Fools, and I love them. I think they're great. And they always make a really positive social statement when they come to the Fringe. And it was kind of like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I think if I'm going to come out with a piece to really be, hey, Philadelphia, here's who we are. Because we do a lot of plays up in Northwest Philadelphia, where we're rooted out of Mount Airy and Chestnut Hill and that area. And I'm like, no, I want to bring it downtown, and I want to really pick a time when maybe eyes would be honest that wouldn't normally be honest if I just did a show downtown. And then I was like, with a statement like this, with a piece that clearly has something to say, Fringe just made sense to me, because I thought, this is the way to do this. This is the way to get some eyes on me that might not be, and also to really have the prestige of being like, I produced a show in the Fringe Festival. I've always loved Fringe, and I've always attended and seen things, and it was, like I said, just a dream of mine to be like, this is what I want to do. So it made sense.
And not that every piece of art doesn't have an opportunity for reflection and conversation, but are you planning time after the production for talkbacks or any discussion?
Wow, that's a great question. We hadn't thought about that, but there is actually time now that I think about it. I mean, we've got the space, it would be a situation of we could invite it. I bet Dave would love that. Yeah. I should make that happen. That's a great idea. And I think my producer brain had been so caught up in everything else that I hadn't really thought that through. But Dave even mentioned, as he was doing publicity for this, he would walk into places and hand people postcards and get reactions like, oh, whoa, what? And he would turn around and be like, no, read the description and let's talk about this. And he would talk to them about it, and then they'd get really excited about it. And so I think that makes logical sense. I'm probably going to make that opportunity available for anybody who would like to do that.
You should, but take full credit for it.
No, I would definitely.
Please take full credit for it.
Thank you.
What do you hope an audience will take away from this production?
That's a good question too. I change my opinion on this all the time. Every time I watch it, I think something else. Really, what I'm hoping they take away from this is seeing how hurtful this level of hate really is, beyond just the cosmeticness of them, being there with their signs and their chants and their songs, but that it's so much deeper than that. Like this kind of hate fuels a ripple effect that goes beyond that moment where they're standing there picketing wherever they're at and whatever they're doing, and that this level of hate isn't just reserved for a fanatical organization like this. Like, truly, it seeps in other ways. And so I'm hoping that people sort of see that and that it really helps spread the idea of acceptance and not being judgmental when people don't agree is not the way humans have to be. We don't have to do this, because that's so amazingly hurtful, and it's hurtful on levels that sometimes we don't think about. Like, we don't think about how that is the sort of drop in the water that then creates just, the tidal wave way down the road, and it's, I'm really hoping that this story gets to them in that way, that they realize that. And I'm sure that most of our audience is already going to know that going into it, but it's about, there are some things that I kind of hadn't thought about before reading this. And that really was, how what you can say in a moment can then change the direction of someone's life, particularly if it's, buffered with this heavy religious belief, and how religion sometimes has that chokehold on people where they just can't see the light on the other side. They just can't see past, what they've been told to believe and taught to believe and what they think they're supposed to believe. And I'm just hoping that, once you see this, the audience experiences that moment where they're just like, yep, there's absolutely no need for any of this in this world. We don't need to facilitate that. We don't need to, encourage that, support that, feed into that, all of that. I think that's the strongest thing that I'm really hoping they take from this. And also a little level of, boy, these people are really out there. How are they even legally allowed to do what they do? But yeah.
And while the arts community and the arts-centered audience is a little bit more, is definitely more forgiving for the work and understands that we're giving ourselves to the experience, what would you say to someone who comes to this show and is seriously offended by it, and approaches you after the show and expresses that frustration?
Yeah. I'm hoping that wouldn't happen, but if it did, I would probably have to really ask them why. Like, what is it that's making them, that uncomfortable? Because the story, the way it's told, is really, ends with such a hopeful flip on it. I mean, it's about Jeff's journey, where he started, how he was raised, and where he ends up. And I would have to find out. I would want to know why they're feeling that way, where that's coming from a little bit, because I really feel like the message is so strong of hope, like, that there can, from this, there still can be love, and there still can be hope on the other side if you let yourself. So yeah, I would probably, want to know more, and then, I don't think I would ever apologize, because I would, want to say, this was the message we were trying to convey, and I'm, sorry you didn't enjoy it, or I'm sorry that it didn't affect you in that way, but know that our intention was not to offend, but more of to hold up a mirror to the situation and show kind of what's going on here, and why there really is no room in our society for this kind of hate, really.
Yeah. This is a fictitious story inspired by the real Westboro Baptist Church and its members. It's a fictitious story.
Exactly, yes.
Just using the premise to tell a broader story.
Right. We are in no way glorifying them in any way. If you watch this and think that we're all pro WBC, then we have not done our job, and you weren't watching this play. That's really all I can say. It's like, it's not in any way. In fact, we were really kind of hoping to get picketed. We've been tweeting at them for a while, and it just hasn't really worked out. And then I think it's because they were here already for their big moment for the clinic. A couple, was it in July? I think it was in July. They came down, and my Uber driver was like, "They're going to be here. You should give me your flyers for the show and let me distribute them." And I was like, "I don't have my flyers yet. It's July." And I was like, "Boy, Dave would love it if I could get them to come and picket this show. It'd be amazing." But
I think I think our arts community, especially Philadelphia, our arts community has really been trying to challenge perceptions in a profound way. I interviewed New City Stage Company a couple months ago, and their production, Roseburg, which was produced here, got attention all the way back in Oregon. And they were getting all kinds of response, negative feedback from the fact that they had just put it up. It hadn't even been mounted yet. Like, just the fact that they were doing it. So people are paying attention. They're constantly on the radar for anything that seems to stand against their beliefs or their position. But ultimately, this is art, and we're expressing this in a way to really make you think, or make you question, or continue the conversation about all of this, because not everybody's as tuned in to the 24-hour news cycle. Not everybody's aware of what's being said out there. Some people just them again, and they just tune it out, and they don't realize the impact. But there's so much hate in the world right now that we have to shine a light on it in such a way that points out its absurdity and really tries to steer this car back onto the road of peace and love and unity.
Absolutely.
And everything.
That's so well said. That's yes. All those things you just said are absolutely part of the reasons why we're doing this. Yeah.
Well, if you need a moderator for your talk back, let me know.
Hooray! What night are you coming to the show?
I don't know. These are later in the. Your production is running September 16th, 18th, 22nd, and 24th. And right now, I'm not committed to those dates. Yes, so I can definitely get to one of those. And I think everyone who is listening should get there too. If you want to find out more about the church bells all were broken, you can go to Fringe Arts and type in church bells. or Casabuena to get directly to this production, or you can visit casabuenacp.com to find out more about the organization and everything else they do. There's film projects here. There's a podcast. Like, there's so many things that you should definitely return to Rep Radio to talk about. And there's still time. There's a link here to contribute. You can still support Casabuena as they make their Fringe Fest debut. Mariangela,
yes,
thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts after you see the show. I'm very excited.
Great. Well, I'm so glad that we managed to stay connected all this time, and thank you for thinking of me to help you spread the word about your production. We love Dave. I've got 3 of his, I think he has 5 comics out right now or something. I have 3 of them. I got to go touch base with him to get the other ones. He's always got his hands on something really exciting.
He'll be selling those before the show.
Oh,
so
great.
he'll be at the Adrian with us, and he'll have a setup there. So he's going to be on site.
That'll be great. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. Want to get involved with Broad Street Review? Head on over to our website at www.broadstreetreview.com and click Get Involved at the top. While you're there, help keep us running and click Contribute to find out how. Connect with us on social media, on Facebook and Twitter at Broad Street Review.